All right, here we are, Theo.
Another countdown. This should be number 6 for us.
Yeah, we've got finally made it to the 90s. It's been a long road here.
Yeah, but it's been a lot of fun. I'm excited for today because Jay couldn't make it, but Victor, who has never been on the channel before, is here, the rookie card specialist. So I'm kind of, it's cool to get some fresh blood in here. So,
all right, with that, let's roll this intro.
Welcome to For Collectors.
All right. What's up, everybody in the chat already? Thanks for coming. And let's start bringing in our panel. So first up, none other than Chris from Missouri. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great, man, but you're going to have to help me see the other people's comments and stuff if there's any. Okay?
That's what John will do that, but I'll try my best. Before we got on, I got to be truthful with the crowd. Before we got on, Chris's bookie called. Chris bet on the Chiefs tonight. He owes a lot of money. It's been a tough season.
I'm gonna be grumpy all night.
Oh man, you should have bet on the under.
I'm gonna drop these cards like our wide receivers drop a football.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. All right, let's get the next guy on here, all the way from the West Coast. Graig, Midlife Sports Cards. What's up, Graig?
What's going on? Hey, second billing. I'll take it. Right? I'll take it every day.
Well, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. I see. I almost cut Chris out today because Chris has been on so many live streams. I don't even call it YouTube anymore. I call it ChrisTube because every time I turn it on, Chris is on the channel.
Yeah, I love it. Whenever I see Chris, I tune in. So
okay, we all been on YouTube fairly close to the amount of same time. I want to check how many videos each of you guys have made compared to me. It's not. I'm just in your guys' world right now, baby.
All right. Last up, like I said, it's Victor, Rookie Card Specialist is the name of his channel. Thank you so much for coming on today and meeting us.
Hey man, thanks for having me on. I really love this exercise you guys been doing. I really love, to be honest with you, man. I love what you guys are doing with this channel. I think the content is out of this world. I think the branding for this thing is, I mean, you need to hook me up with your marketing guy. I mean, just the branding that you guys do for this is just very catchy, and the content you guys are putting out is excellent. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. But it's a community effort. We'll try. We're getting some rookie cards printed out that you saw in the intro. So we'll have to get you one of the cards over for doing this for us today. But I actually I love your channel. You've been doing it for a while, and if anybody hasn't checked out your channel, please check it out. But I actually saw you this weekend. Weren't you on Hobby Hotline this weekend?
Yep. I'm a member of Hobby Hotline. I'm on there about once a month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, let's get
Theo,
into it. Yep.
Theo, can I say something before we go on?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I would say, Victor, you have big shoes to fill because,
wow.
But one of the persons you're replacing is Jake. So I don't think those are too big of shoes, but you are replacing Jake and baseball collectors. So
oh, wow.
Good luck to you. So
yeah, gonna need it.
High standard we set.
For real.
Before we get into the countdown, what I want to talk about real quick is the 90s rookie cards are very interesting because we get into the junk wax era. And it's funny because Victor's on this one and he loves 90 card rookie, but it's debatable sometimes in the community what the rookie card is for the players.
Yeah.
So we chose to go off of PSA. I know, but we had to pick some way to go off of it. So Victor, could you maybe tell somebody out there how PSA comes to the decision they come to on what card is somebody's rookie card when it comes to the junk wax era?
Yeah, I can't really like I can make an assumption here. Okay. Now I love that you guys are using the PSA registry only because I'm a big PSA set registry fan, especially this, post-war baseball Hall of Fame, which is the list we're working off of tonight. But I know typically in the past they would, send an email out if you wanted to vote on a certain card. They were, you would have to like respond to this email and place your vote as to which card you would prefer. But I haven't gotten one of those emails in quite some time. I would say 2 to 3 years. I haven't gotten one of those emails. Yeah. Now it's more like a notification of a card that's been included. So I don't know who's doing the voting now, but it's more like they're just telling you which card is being added to the set registry.
Yeah, and like the last 3 guys, or the guys who are like 97, 96, their cards are like foil, and everybody else's paper cards, I call them. I mean, is that just they just got lucky and they got, because obviously foil cards are a little bit more scarce, a little bit more attractive. Is that just kind of Jeter and them got lucky with kind of what they got picked, I guess?
Yeah, I think at that time, I think it was more what the collectors wanted, what the people who belong to that set registry are the ones who get to vote. And I think that was the card that was predominantly voted for. So that's the one that got included.
Cool. Well, thank you for thanks for filling us in on some of the background. So let's get into it. So I'm going to put up my handy dandy sheet as I do on every episode. So the guys, all 4 of us rank the cards on eye appeal, quality of career, and hobby importance. And each of these, we literally rank each player 3 different times between 1 and 16. So, if somebody stands back at the end and says, how did that player win? It's because of those 3 categories. So let's quickly go through. There's actually 16 Hall of Fame rookie cards in the 90s. There's 16 Hall of Fame rookie cards in the 90s. I'm going to go through 16 to 11 really quick, and then we'll get into the top 10. So, all righty. At number 16 overall, the 1995 Bowman's Best Scott Rowland Blue, card number 87. Anybody have it out there?
I do not.
I'm unsure.
That should be it.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Okay. At number 15, the 1992 Bowman Trevor Hoffman, card number 11. That's number 15. Trevor Hoffman.
I like this one because it really looks like a old vintage pose there.
Yeah.
He's, and I appreciate it for that reason.
Yeah, almost like a Whitey Ford pose or something like that, maybe. All right. So at number 14, the 1991 Ultra Update Mike Mussina U4. There we go.
To me, that's Mussina's 3rd best rookie card. This is his best rookie card.
Oh,
and then his upper deck, I think, is better too. So how that got chosen, I have no idea.
I agree.
It's probably the set. The set had a lot of steam back then.
Yeah, there's
the Ultra Update set.
That set has 3 or 4 cards on this list, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at number 13, we got the 1990 Leaf Larry Walker, card number 325. All right. At number 12, I'll read through this one. It got a 9 for eye appeal. It got a 9 for quality of career. Importance of the hobby, it got 15. So importance of the hobby killed this card. 1991 Ultra Update, Jeff Bagwell, card number 79.
Really?
I had to be. Oh. I had to be really careful in picking up these cards, especially the Jeff Bagwell. So I put on some, those gloves you use that are rubber and thick when you barbecue.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was going to get pricked by a needle of some sort, but I'm okay.
Oh my gosh! I thought Graig would be doing jokes like that.
Well, I mean, we're just getting started.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, we're just getting started with that joke.
All right. Last but not least, I think a lot of kids, a lot of guys my age grew up and idolized this guy. But at number 11, 12 for eye appeal, 7th for quality of career, and 11th for importance to the hobby, the 1991 Bowman Jim Thome card number 68.
I love this set. I really do.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't like that picture of Thome at all. He looks like he's like taking like a 5th grade photo or something. Like his face doesn't look right. I just don't like it. All right.
It needs to have muscles in his face.
Yeah, Thome doesn't look that strong back then, Greg. What do you think?
I mean, he definitely looks a lot different at the end of his career.
All right. So did anybody have any cards there that missed the top 10 that thinks that they should have been in the top 10?
I think I voted the Thome higher, only because I just love that set. I think primarily.
It's hard to tell if we got it right or not, but I think if any of them would have been higher, it would have been Thome to me.
Yeah, Victor, you had Thome 9 overall. Greg had Thome 9 overall. Chris had him 12th overall. So, and I actually had him 14th overall because I really don't like the eye appeal of the card at all.
And I think all of his rookie cards have like the same photo on it, real similar.
Yeah.
One of the things I did today out of just pure curiosity is I went through all 16 cards and I looked up their value in a PSA 9. And so when we were talking about like importance to the hobby, I'm like, well, I thought it'd be interested to see what they sell for, because that tells you a lot of the importance as far as collectors think. Now, obviously, there's supply issues in there too. So when I look at that particular list, I mean, like the Jim Thome in a 9 last sold for $8.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make the argument that it's super important.
Yeah, I actually went on VCP and looked up PSA 10s. And Thome sells for 62 in a PSA 10. The highest one's actually the worst one. It's the Bowman's Best Scott Rowland. It actually sells in a PSA 10 for $351, but I believe it's because of the type of card it is. There's probably a very low pop on that card.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the top 10, guys. At number 10 overall, it got 10th for eye appeal, 6th for quality of career, and 14th for importance to the hobby. It is the 1991 Ultra Update Ivan Rodriguez, card number 58. All right, who wants to talk about a Pudge a little bit? Chris, you actually really ranked him high for quality of career. You ranked him the 3rd best quality of career out of all these players. So why don't you start talking about Pudge?
Well, I'm a little bit biased, of course. I'm a catcher by heart, and he's one of the best catchers in the game. If you take away any kind of suspicions at all, probably the best defensive catcher that's ever played, or definitely I would say in the American League. So I thought, and I chose him above any pitcher just because he was an everyday player. And now I chose some pitchers pretty high. I couldn't go by WAR on any of this stuff because Mike Messina had the 2nd highest WAR of any of these players. And I don't believe Mike Messina would be the number 2 best player on this list. So with as many Gold Gloves as he had, and
I think he was the 3rd highest WAR, but I get your point.
Yeah, it's really close. Pedro Martinez has 83.9, and Messina has 82.8.
Chipper Jones was 85.3.
Yeah, but I looked at the 2 pitchers, and there's no way that I would, whatever. But that's where he is. Quality of career, I have him pretty high just because of how he ranks on the list at his position.
Is he the best catcher of the 90s?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he's the best catcher of the 90s. I think everything Chris just said is right. I think he's maybe the best defensive catcher. I think he's maybe the best defensive catcher ever. I mean, he's unbelievable. His arm, the ability to block and get up quick and throw behind guys at first, and I mean, he was unbelievable. And then he had a stretch of years up until 2003 where he hit for a high average and hit a bunch of home runs. He did very, very well. And then things changed a little bit for him in 2003. But during that stretch, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, man, it's hard because we also got Piazza in there, right? So it's like, man.
Yeah, but Piazza couldn't throw out my grandma on crutches. I mean, he literally has the worst arm of any catcher any catcher in the 90s. Okay. I'm seriously, dude. Watch that stuff on YouTube. Now he could hit like a son of a gun.
Yeah.
But man, he would have benefited from having a DH in the National League.
Somebody brought up Yachty, but Yachty, I thought Yachty started in the 2000s. What was his first season?
2004.
Yeah. So he doesn't qualify. What's going on, John?
Just had a quick comment on the arm thing. If it wasn't for Mackie Sasser, Piazza wins it for the worst. You remember what happened to Mackie Sasser?
Oh yes.
Getting the yips throwing the ball.
But Mike Piazza should have used a cutoff to throw to second base.
Barely get the ball back to the pitcher then, huh?
Oh man. Yeah, if anybody in the chat has a catcher they think was better in the 90s, I'd love to hear it.
Benito Santiago. I mean, Benito Santiago defensively was unbelievable as well. Yeah. Very strong arm.
All right, let's move on to 9. At number 9, he got 7 for eye appeal, 11 for quality of career, and 8 for importance to the hobby. This card in a PSA 10 sells for $734. It's the 1997 Bowman Chrome Roy Halladay, card number 212.
This should be a 10, but they got me. I got a 9 on it, but I couldn't find a flaw in this thing.
I wonder what the pop count is on the 10s for those, since they're like foil.
I don't know.
Graig and Chris gave this Chris gave it a 2 for eye appeal. Graig gave it a 3 for eye appeal. Me and Victor gave it a 12 for eye appeal. So we were, and then quality of career. Graig gave him the 4th best quality of career out of any player. Wow, Graig, let's start with you. Why do you love him so much? What happened? Did he wait? Did he go to your college?
No, he did not.
Okay. All right.
But I will say this: he spent most of his career with the Blue Jays, and so being a Yankee fan in the AL East, you see him a lot, and then also being a Clemens fan during that time, I'm always watching like the Cy Young race, and a lot of the times one of the guys at that top of the Cy Young race every single year was Roy Halladay, and I think that the guy was like at times borderline unhittable. I mean, he was, his curveball, his fastball. I mean, he was unbelievable. So the other issue for me is I have a lot of suspicions about some of the guys that are on the list. And so for me, it was hard to ignore that when I was ranking quality of career. So like a Pudge Rodriguez, if all things are created equal, I would put above Roy Halladay, but things are not, in my opinion, necessarily created equal. So I put Roy Halladay above him. So that played a factor for a couple of the guys in the top 6 or 7 as far as quality of career. That put Halladay above them on my list.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, right?
Is it something about Roger Clemens?
Yeah, was he sitting at home not doing steroids with Roger Clemens, where everybody else was?
Well, the thing about you think Roy Halladay was doing steroids? Is that what you're saying? Oh, you're just trying to take a dig at Clemens?
No, on this list here, the argument that I hate more than anything that should not ever come up. If he got caught doing it, how do you not know everybody else did it? You know, I hate that argument. But on this particular list, you could probably argue that there's 60% of these guys that might be curious of touching this stuff.
I agree. And for me, Roy Halladay is not one of them. Okay. And by doing that, that gave him a little bit of a bonus. I think if you just go stat lines, you just go career, all that's out the window. I don't have Roy Halladay number 4, but I have Roy Halladay number 4 when I have suspicions about a couple of the catchers on the list specifically.
Okay,
you should be.
To me, Halladay he's a victim of his time, where he didn't go long. He's a stud, and he had two really super pitches, and he knew how to pitch. But I think he took the mound most of his career saying to himself, I really only have to make it 7 innings. And that's a different outlook on starting a game than somebody saying, man, I better go 9 innings or our team doesn't have a chance to win.
But don't you think that's partly generational? Don't you think the 7 innings thing now Clemens, somebody just sent me a stat the other day that said 1 year Clemens had like more complete games in one season than now I'm just opening myself up to you guys just unleashing Clemens hate on me, but like that was an era, the late 80s was like when the era of going complete games started to stop.
Yeah.
Most of Roy Halladay's career, most of Pedro's career, most of Musina's career, that was not the area where you just keep going. It was protect the arm because the arm's so expensive and so valuable.
I'm a Clemens fan, but I will say on this.
I knew I liked you, Victor.
I know on this Halladay card of Halladay, or this Bowman Chrome, and I opened a ton of this product when it first was released. I really liked it because it was the first Bowman Chrome product, the first time that the set was released. This is the inaugural year of Bowman Chrome, and I think. I like that kind of stuff. I think there's going to be a resurgence of that in the future, if it hasn't already within the hobby. And that is the first of a particular set. I think it's going to hold a lot of hobby weight if it doesn't already.
To be honest though, with you guys, it's interesting because you're defending him. You had him overall 14.
Yeah.
Graig had him overall 2. Now, granted, we're talking about more than just.
I had him overall 2.
Overall 2, yes.
The way I did it is I did it by category.
Oh, I know. I understand that.
But I just go quality of career, rank them. I don't sit there and go, who do I want to be number 1? So I have no idea what I ranked what.
I changed mine like 5 times. Dude.
I know. I'm not debating that, Graig. I'm just saying I've never had 2 people so far apart on one card in these 6 shows ever. It's kind of crazy. Do you want to hold up the card? Like, why did you rank it so high in eye appeal? I don't think it's that nice of a card personally.
Are you talking to me now?
Either you or I think Chris had it high for eye appeal too. I believe.
I think because 12 of these cards are hideous. Every ultra card is complete trash.
Well,
every ultra card is trash. And at least half of the Bowman cards, I think, are ugly. So having a card that has some sparkle on it, John Mangini would agree with me. Those are beautiful. He loves sparkle on cards.
I think. See, I look at the set plus the photo, and I don't just look at the set and go, well, that's a nice set, so it's automatically in the top 5. You know what I'm saying? Like, I also look at the photo, and I don't think the photo is great. It's pretty average.
Someone was talking about. Someone was talking about Roy Halladay complete games. He had 67 complete games in his career. Clemens had 118. And I don't think that's because Clemens is like more of a horse. I think it's because it's the generational thing. If you go back to Cy Young had 350 complete games. So it's just, I think as the generations go, they just started protecting starting pitchers more. But
But I think
and
like
also,
go ahead.
It depends also what your bullpen looks like, who's the closer is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can go as back as 1975 and look up the Cincinnati Reds staff and Captain Hook, the manager Sparky Anderson. You know, he had 4 relievers that were incredible, and you know he came to the mound early and often, and you know Clemens, I don't know who his primary closer was back then, but and also I think it'd be harder to take Clemens off the mound I think Clemens is saying, get out of here, don't come near me,
right.
kind of thing.
Well, when Clemens finished his career with the Red Sox, that was the last 4-man rotation in baseball history. Every other team was on a 5-man rotation. His last couple of years was still a 4-man rotation, and he was still completing 18 games a year back then. So it was a different mentality for sure. But back to the point of Roy Halladay, I just thought Roy Halladay had filthy stuff, and I hated when my team had to go up against him because I thought he had an unbelievable curveball and a very good fastball.
Yeah, I think Clemens' closer's name was Juice. All right, let me let me move on. Number 8, got 11 for eye appeal, got 8 for quality of career, 7 for importance to the hobby. In a PSA 10, this card sells for $320. The 1992 Flair Update Mike Piazza, card number 92. And we'll give a special shout out to Mookie Chilson out there. It's a Met. All right. Who wants to start talking about Piazza a little bit?
Well, I mean, I don't like his rookie card. That's not a good looking card. I don't even think that's his best looking card.
No,
I don't know why that was chosen. And again, my biggest issue with Piazza is what his career numbers were before and after 2003. His home run totals got cut in half at 2003. If you go his career to 2002 and 2003 on, completely different player. Stat wise, you look down the stats and it's like a screeching halt. And people say, well, that's because he was hurt all the time. Yeah, that definitely was part of it. It's tougher to stay healthy sometimes under certain circumstances.
I think his story is great, though. He's got a cool story.
Correct.
You know, his dad being friends with Tommy Lasorda, getting him a tryout, drafted 59th round, or I mean, he was drafted really late.
Yep.
And I think I've read some stories about Mike Piazza kind of being a tough guy, like with martial arts kind of stuff. I don't know if any of it's true, but I've read 2 or 3 different stories. And his career could have changed when Roger Clemens threw on roid rage threw that bat.
Allegedly.
No, he threw the bat. There was no.
No, I know that. I know that. I saw
if he would have charged the mound and did some kind of triple drop kick, we'd be talking about him as a legend. But I always disliked him because I was a Johnny Bench fan. And I don't know if you guys got to that age yet where you start rooting against somebody that I mean, I was a Jack Nicklaus fan, so I've been rooting against Tiger Woods until Tiger Woods got older. Now I'm a Tiger Woods fan. Same way with Piazza. I didn't want him to break any records that maybe Johnny Bench had, and I didn't want anybody to talk about him in the same sentence. So I had that preconceived notion about him, and so I'm starting to appreciate how he hit. But yeah, it's hard not to think he was,
wasn't he what New York Mets needed to get to that World Series? Wasn't he the catalyst, or do you guys not think that?
Oh, I think so. But ask Mookie Chilson how many people he threw out that year.
I'm with you guys. I really love the story of Mike Piazza and him hitting that home run right after 9/11 when baseball came back to play. I mean, that was a very special moment. You can watch that on YouTube, and I watched it about a year or so ago. It still gives me the chills, the goosebumps when I watch that, just because I remember it so well. And just moments like that, I think are special. He's special to me in that aspect, but I really don't like this 92 Fleer update card. I really think the 92 Bowman is one of the iconic cards
Totally
in my
agree.
book. And what a beautiful photograph. And they ended up putting this one in, and I just,
Well, Chris likes it. He voted it the sixth best looking card. Chris,
No, he didn't. Did you really?
Yes,
Chris, defend that, please. Show the card again. Show that card again, and then defend it. It's.
What shade of blue is that? Is that aqua? Like, I don't know what shade that is.
It clashes with Dodger blue for one.
It goes with his eyes. It goes with his eyes. I don't know,
Chris. I need to spend more time with you in my life. You bring me too much joy.
This comes from a guy that ranked Roy Halladay #2 on this list. If Victor wants to yell at me and make fun of me, he can. But man, you got to take a time out from making fun of me. We've been agreeing.
For one, let me defend that for just a second.
Oh, geez.
No. Mariano Rivera's rookie card is terrible. It's
we're gonna get
so
there.
That's gonna bring his ranking way down.
Save it, Greg. Save it.
All right.
Please save it. All right. You have to buy the Roy Halladay card now. He's your second favorite card ever. You need
to change the power rankings and the how the ranking is done. Them each being worth a third is the problem. But
okay. All right. Yeah, sure. All right. Next up at number. All right, where are we at? Number 7. All right, at number 7. Number 5 for eye appeal, number 13 for quality of career. So quality of career really brought this player down. Importance of the hobby, 6. In a PSA 10, this card sells for about $382. It's the 1995 Bowman's Best Vladdy Guerrero card number 2. It's another shiny one for us. We could probably start with Victor. So you had him number 7 for quality of career. So you must be a homer for Vladdy. I would like to hear a little bit more about this.
I like his story, man. I like his just his old school, no batting gloves, just old school knuckle, hard-nosed baseball player, and swung at everything and hit just about everything. And I enjoyed watching his career. I think it's the biggest. And so I'm a homer in that aspect. I think you're right.
But maybe I'm wrong on this. Didn't he get in through the Veterans Committee or the other committee to get in the Hall of Fame, or did he get in legitimate, like straight up?
Man, that's a Google question. I don't remember.
Yeah, I might be wrong on that. I might be getting confused with somebody else.
I don't think that's accurate. No.
Okay.
His war is really low.
It's 60 war.
For the position that he played, but he did have an incredible arm. He had
his arm.
He had a couple of the best throws ever during this time. But I like the look of the card. We're way past vintage stuff for me. So now as I'm getting older, I like the little shiny things in front of me, and and this card, I think I had it ranked pretty high, but I like the way the card looks. I think his career might not have been as high as definitely not what Victor has. So.
Yeah, Chris, you had him 10th. You had him 10 overall. Victor had him 7 overall. Greg had him 7 overall. So nothing crazy.
Well, he batted almost 320, and for his career, and he had 450 home runs, and he had an incredible arm, and it's not like he was playing in a hitter's ballpark. So I mean, that's a pretty good career to bat
It's a real good
320,
career.
319.
Victor, what kind of
450 home runs.
what kind of teammate was he? Because I know early he kind of was a hothead. I don't know about later. Was he a good teammate, you think?
I never heard anything negative about him in that aspect.
All right, let's move on. We got overall number 6 here. All right, overall number 6. Eye appeal got a 2, which shocked me. Quality of career 12. Importance of the hobby 4. If you buy this card in a PSA 10, you're looking at a little bit over $1,000. It's the 1997 Ultra. It's the David Ortiz card number 518.
I have one in a 10.
That's the Fleer.
Oh. It is. My bad. My bad.
Chris got to get his better glasses.
Yeah, guess what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow, because I tell everybody that I've completed this run.
I don't have this card.
Well, okay, I do, and I got one in a 10.
All right.
Actually, the real one, actually is a much better looking card.
Yeah, he's got his bat up on his shoulders. He's got his bat up on his shoulders like this, but his shirt's untucked. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool card. So Chris, did you rank that card or the proper card?
I ranked this card.
Okay.
I ranked this card.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Hence the blue tape on it. When I did that, I also have this Guerrero that for the longest time I thought this was his rookie. And so I thought I had Ortiz's. I need to look through my cards and see if I have his rookie card.
You thought that was Ortiz's rookie?
I thought this was Ortiz's rookie card.
That is one of his rookie cards. It's
right.
not.
But I thought it was his PSA set registry.
Oh, okay.
Card.
Yeah.
There it is right there.
Victor, I claim to have all of them. But
hey,
now,
it's your PC, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one that is his rookie, I had in by getting these cards out of the 90s, because I don't look at these cards a lot. And so getting this out, I realized I didn't have the Guerrero rookie. And so I'm learning. So,
there you go.
So I do have to get the Ortiz rookie.
Yeah, the Ultra, I believe the gold medallion is an image variant on the Ortiz. It's the one with him with his arms crossed. He's got his hands on his arms on his knees.
Okay.
That's actually the gold medallion parallel, but they put a different image on it.
Huh.
I like that one. Also, I need to get both of them.
Well, that's like when we showed the Roland early, the first car early. That's why I asked if it was the rookie, because I was not for sure.
So
there it is. Yeah,
there it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So we
ranked pricey. maybe I'll stick with the other one.
All right. So David Ortiz, only played half the game. What do you guys think about that as far as quality of career? Do you think that he should get penalized for not being out in the field?
Yeah, I think it should weigh in. Personally, I think it takes away from. And where do I got? I got him 9th. I do respect what he accomplished as a DH, but I do think when that is all you do, I don't know. It takes away for me.
Yeah, Chris had him 11 for quality of career, and I had him 14.
Yeah,
is he?
What did I have him, Theo?
9. Is he the best DH of all time because of the longevity he played DH? Like, what would you say, Chris?
Oh, I think if I was a Boston fan, I would be an Ortiz nut, just because some of the big games that he stepped up in, and it would be the most pressure moments, whether it was in season or postseason, and he would come through. And I know he struck out a ton of times. And I don't think he's the best DH of all time, but I do think, it's hard not to have Edgar Martinez. And, back in the day, the Royals had a great DH that's not even close to the Hall of Fame, but he was, Hal McRae, and he was incredible. And he should teach how to take out second baseman. But Ortiz, he's got the steroid thing hanging over him, and that hurts him. But he came up in big moments, and like I say, if I was a Boston fan, I'd be yelling at you guys or us for having him so low.
Did he really though get all right, or did they cover that up or made up some elaborate explanation as to what happened with him on that? I know he was in trouble, but
it was before they started officially testing, they had confidential tests. And they confidentially tested everyone to see how prevalent it was. Okay. And then that list went just to MLB, and no one was supposed to ever see it. But that list later got leaked. And that list that was leaked, Ortiz was on that list.
That's what
he never tested positive while playing, while it was banned and they were testing. Yeah. It was that time that he did it. And to his credit, his biggest years were after they started testing. So if he was taking something, which again, none of us know, but if he was taking something, he was taking some sort of designer thing that wasn't getting caught, because he never got caught, and he had some huge years after 2003.
And that's how come I don't hold it against him. Really. I don't, I think he's good in my book.
Yeah, or he could have been using the Whizzinator, Greg. Do you know what the Whizzinator is?
I do, because the NFL player who used the Whizzinator and got caught using the Ontario Smith, I think was his name. He went to high school about 20 minutes from here, and so it was all in the news around here. So I do know of the Whizzinator.
Okay. So, but that has nothing to do with Ozzie Smith, the Wizard of Oz, right?
It does not. Okay. Those are separate people, separate things. But but I could see why that would be confusing to someone your age.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris, if you Google that tonight, just make sure your wife's not around, okay?
Ontario Pace? Is that what it was? Somebody saying Pace.
Orlando Pace.
No, it wasn't Orlando Pace. He was a lineman. Is Ontario something?
I think it was Orlando Collector's Dream.
Oh man, I was wondering how he got all those good cards.
Now, I do want to throw this one thing out there, because as a Yankee fan, Ortiz, broke our backs a few times. I totally know why the Red Sox fans love him. I get all of it, but on this list there are 16 names, and there are 16 wars associated with the 16 names. The lowest WAR on the list is Trevor Hoffman with a WAR of 28. And you go, well, that's because he's a reliever. Well, Mariano Rivera's was 56.3. So Mariano's was like 2.5 times that of Trevor Hoffman. The lowest WAR of anybody besides Trevor Hoffman is David Ortiz. Mm-hmm. So for people who are into WAR, and we think of David Ortiz as this elite hitter, I found that interesting. It really surprised me when I saw that. So I thought I would bring it up.
That's real good.
Also, Mike Piazza's WAR is about 4th from the last or 5th from the last.
Yeah, it is.
Catcher is usually a hard position, though, for WAR, right? Traditionally?
Yeah, Johnny have a higher WAR.
They play less games.
In the 80s. So.
In the 80s, yeah. Okay, all right, let's get into our top 5. I really like this top 5 because I feel like there's no bad players in here. No, I like it's kind of exciting to get into the top 5. So let's go into number 5 here. He got 6 for eye appeal. He got number 1 for quality of career, and he got number 9 for importance of the hobby for the card. You can buy this in a PSA 10 for $47. It is the 1991 Upper Deck Final Edition Pedro Martinez card number 2.
Pedro Martinez got #1 for quality of career?
Yes, he did.
Good grief.
Good grief.
We could start there. I can go through what each person did for quality of career.
Yeah, do that.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Quality of career. Victor had him 3. Graig had him 3. Chris had him 4. I actually ranked him #1. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's basically Theo's fault.
I mean, you had him at #3. You had him at #3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's probably 3 or 4 to me.
You put Jeter ahead of him. Like,
yeah, of course.
You have no leg to stand on.
What do you? I have a lot of leg to stand on. Well, you don't think?
This is where I go into a debate here. For quality of career, how heavily do you put World Series titles, or do you look at their career as their stats?
I look at it when it fits my argument.
I think championships and leadership is a part, but it's not a huge part. The hardest thing to do in sports is hit a moving baseball. That is the hardest thing to do. And very few people were better hitters, in my opinion, than Derek Jeter. But I'll save this until we get to Jeter.
Okay.
I love Pedro's career. One of my favorite ball players, but he lost brownie points with me when he tossed Don Zimmer across the field. I didn't like that.
I thought he deserved extra points for that one.
That was
you would, John. You would. You know.
I actually had him #1 on my list too, and I honestly think his peak years there are superior to Koufax when you compare him to the rest of the league, and the fact that he was pitching to roided up players, and the offenses were insane. His peak is the greatest pitching years in baseball history. And I hated the guy when he was a live player. I hated him. But damn.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you throw out the steroid guys, he's the best pitcher of the era. Is it who's better pitcher of the era, Graig?
Maddox?
Who's the best pitcher of the era when you throw out the steroid? But that would bring me back to who do you think are the steroid guys from that era? I mean, is Randy Johnson a steroid guy from that era? Is Greg Maddux? I mean, he's not a steroid guy. Right. So to me, Randy Johnson, I have a little above Pedro. I have Greg Maddux a little above Pedro. I'm a Clemens guy, so I have Clemens right there, step with Pedro. I have Roy Halladay a little bit behind those guys, but right in the same conversation. So there's no doubt about it. When Pedro was on, he was incredible, but so was Maddux and so was Randy Johnson.
I still have this thing that he had to be great every 5 days. And it's hard for me to, I know how great he was. So he's better than some of these. He's better than some as far as career goes, but it's hard for me to believe that he's better than 2 and maybe even 3 of the hitters here. Because, we got a couple hitters that, over 500 home runs and silver sluggers and all-stars. And Pedro was incredible. And I think he's the 3rd best pitcher of that era. And that's great. And he was on, but again, he only had to be great for 7 or 8 innings every 5 days. So he had to be great. He had to be great 35 days and not 162 days.
Yeah. Victor had, you had him at 4 for eye appeal, the card. That was by Pedro.
Okay.
That was by far the highest eye appeal for his card. Do you want to say why you like the card so much?
I like the portrait shot thing, and I also, this is like really, I believe this is his like only rookie card, so we need to take that into consideration.
Let's give you full screen to show it one more time.
But I love portrait shots like this. They're probably one of my favorite poses.
The mustache brings it at least 2 spots down, doesn't it? I mean, that mustache what is he, Zorro? I mean, what are we doing with that?
Yeah, like a little peach fuzz, like Maddox's.
Yeah, to be fair, Maddox had the same thing.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you, Victor, as far as like upper deck is icon. That set's iconic first off, and then he just looks so young. Like that's what you want in a rookie card. This guy looks like he's just so young. He just got into the league. But go ahead, John.
That one has me wishing somebody would give him a towel to wipe all the sweat off his face.
I know, right?
Picture.
Hand, right? I can agree with that.
Oh, wrong button.
All right, we can move on from Pedro. All right, we're going into the top 4. I'd love to hear from the chat. Does anybody think any card's going to overtake the Derek Jeter card? So why don't you guys start talking about that in the chat, and then we'll see if anybody's right here. So at number 4, we got 4 for eye appeal, 3 for quality of career, and 5 for importance to hobby. The 1991 Bowman Chipper Jones card number 569. If you want to get this in a PSA 10, you're looking at $100. So actually to start, I actually wanted to say me and I believe John, we picked this out for our favorite eye appeal card. And I was actually shocked whenever I saw Chris had it at number 13. I think if I was a player in the league and that was my rookie card, I'd be super happy with that card. I just think it looks cool.
It's a beautiful card, man.
I had a third. I thought it looked kind of like a classic swinging pose vintage card.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like the look of it. Chris, do you want to defend yourself, or you really have nothing to say about it?
I mean, hardly any of these cards are any Mona Lisa at all.
Oh, geez.
I do, now that I'm looking at it, it reminds me of a little bit of the Ted Williams card back in 1950 and 51, where it has the clouds in the background. But I don't know. Let's
show it one more time on the screen while we're talking about it, Chris.
How about this, Chris? Compared to his other rookie cards, that one to me is by far the best one.
Yeah,
as far as eye appeal.
Yeah. Now listen, I had him down though, I believe, as the number 1 player, and if I didn't, I need to change my vote because
you had him at number 1. I had him at number 2. Victor had 5 and Graig had 5. So yeah, you did have number 1.
Yeah, I thought there was 2 players or 3 players anyway that was higher than any pitcher on here, and I had Rodriguez up there, I'm sure, and I had Thomas, and I surely had Chipper at number 1 because he wasn't a defensive liability. He was never going to win a Golden Glove in the same time period as like Scott Rowland and some of those guys. But man, he could hit. And if you even consider, I mean, we considered postseason. I considered postseason on Jeter and some of those Ortiz and some of those guys. If you're going to consider postseason, you need to consider Chipper Jones a little bit as well, right?
Yeah.
So
he was in there. Was in there.
So I believe you guys made a terrible injustice not putting him at number 1, but you guys got to live with that yourselves.
You had wait, just to sum. You had him as number 1 overall.
Let me talk a little slower for you. I had him as number 1 as a player. Okay. I didn't like that.
Got it.
I didn't like the eye appeal of the card, but guys, I didn't spend a whole lot of time looking which one's the prettiest.
Okay. You just started writing numbers down, I guess.
You know how I did it, honestly, is I pulled up 16 screens, literally. I pulled up 16 screens on my computer with the card, and then I went, that's the ugliest 16. Got rid of it. That's the ugliest of the remaining ones, and I worked my way up to the best looking one. Yeah,
yeah.
That was the only way, because normally, like with the 50s, 60s, 70s, I know all the rookie cards in my head. I have them, but a lot of these cards, I'm like, the Ultra Update, I don't even know what that card even looks like. So.
I thought it was an alcoholic drink, to be honest with you. So let's talk about Chipper Jones a little bit. So since Chipper's played, if you include Chipper, is he the best third baseman in that time frame, or who would you actually say is a better third baseman from, let's just say, 1990 until present?
Ooh.
1990 to present, who would be a better third baseman?
Yeah. So what do we have is Nolan Arenado's won a lot of Gold Gloves, right? I'm trying to think of anybody else that really.
Adrian Beltre.
Mm-hmm.
would be someone to consider, but I don't know. I would probably lean Chipper over Beltre, but Beltre was pretty phenomenal hitter. I would probably rather have Chipper. The thing about Chipper is he's just so likable. He's just like this all-American kid. Like, if you don't like Chipper Jones, I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, and we were going up against his team all the time, and I still like the guy, even though he was a good team player on the other team. Like, he's just a likable guy.
Yeah.
I think he benefited the most from Turner having all their games on the TV. Mm. Everybody around me that was a Braves fan was Chipper Jones was their favorite player. I really think he really played in the perfect time for himself as far as getting exposure. But does anybody else have anything else to say about Chipper Jones before I move on?
Jake would be proud of me. Legends never die. Would be proud of me.
All right. We're going to get into the top three. All right.
Wait a second. Wait. You gotta roll that back. So Chipper Jones, Jake is all about the 3,000 hits, 500 home runs. Like, he's all about those numbers, those plateau numbers. And Chipper didn't hit any of those. He was just under 500 home runs. He was just under 3,000 hits. Like, Jake would say, no, I know he likes him. Don't get me wrong. I know he loves him. But if we use Jake's criteria for the Hall of Fame with Chipper Jones, then
if we use Jake's version for the Hall of Fame, he would pick Eddie Murray
right
over Lou Gehrig, over just name a first baseman. He would pick him over Ted Williams. He'd pick him over Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth didn't get 3,000 hits, that poor guy. So I'm not saying I want to be like Jake. I just said Jake would be proud.
I think Babe Ruth might get some more credit though because of his mentions in the Sandlot. So,
all right, so we're getting into the top three here. So I asked the chat earlier, will anybody beat Jeter? So this was kind of some of the responses. All right, so Mike Petty said no one's beating Jeter. Michael Taylor said Jeter, number one, no brainer. James Gilliam said Jeter. So I think that's most of the guys who said their thoughts on it. And a couple of guys did bring up Arenado. Jason brought up Arenado, and Billy Ballgames brought up Arenado.
I would agree.
That's interesting. I wonder where
Billy Ballgame's a St. Louis homer.
All right. Too many homers out here, I guess. All right. Let's get into the top three. At number 3, he got 3 for eye appeal, 5 for quality of your career, and 3 for importance to the hobby. And his PSA 10 sells for 151 buckaroos. The 1990 Leaf, Frank Thomas, card number 300. So let's see, where should we start here? Let's start with Graig. You just hate Frank Thomas. You had his quality of career at number 10. So you want to start with why Frank Thomas sucks so bad?
Jeez. Let me ask you this. Where did I put importance to the hobby for Frank Thomas?
You got to give me a second here. Importance to the hobby, you had it number 2.
Yeah. I was going to say, I thought it had it really high. See, collecting kids cards during that era as a kid, it was like Junk Wax went crazy, and then the 89 Upper Deck was like the non-Junk Wax set. And then the following year, the non-Junk Wax set, like the national treasures of its time, was the 90 Leaf set. And that was the chase card, because coming out of Auburn and, in college, he was like a big deal. Everybody knew who he was. He was very recognizable. So I do think that that's a super important card. And it's one of the cards on this list that I actually want and don't have. I almost bought one yesterday, actually, at a card show. But I don't think he sucks. I do think he's very good. I think I rank pitchers higher than a lot of you guys. Like, to me, Pedro's above him. To me, Roy Halladay's above him. To me, Mariano Rivera's above him. So you start throwing, 3-4 pitchers above him, and then I think Chipper's above him. I think Jeter's above him. You start all of a sudden you're getting down. I mean, maybe I was a little harsh on quality of career, maybe 8, but I don't have him really above that. So, I mean, I was maybe a little harsh. I like Frank Thomas. He was consistently, around 100 RBIs, 30, 35 home runs. Like, he was just kind of like this consistent, steady guy. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't like Cecil Fielder, who's hitting, 50 home runs in a season and hitting them out of stadiums and stuff. And even though he's like a slugger, so he wasn't fast on the base paths. He wasn't a great defensive player. He was okay. So I think when you take some of the 2 of the tools of the 5 tools out of it, and you're kind of like, well, he's, so those things weighed on him a little bit, but I think he's very good. I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I think,
yeah, go ahead, Victor.
I think, in the 90s, it was Griffey and then Frank Thomas when it came to career or season numbers. When it came to MVPs, it was either going to be Griffey or Thomas, it seemed like. And you also have in the hobby, it was Griffey was 1A and Thomas was like 1B, and just very dominant within the hobby during the 90s.
Yep.
I think he was so consistent, and I mean, he could muscle a ball, out of most stadiums, out of most parks. But he, I don't remember him. He has hit some of the biggest home runs or the farthest home runs, but he just every year somebody would step up. Like Joe Carter had a great year, but Frank Thomas was there. Albert Bell would have a couple great years, but Frank Thomas was always there in the discussion. Mm-hmm. And I don't think in this stuff, and I'm not trying to be argumentative or anything, but I don't think I would rank any pitcher higher than one of these greats. And it was hard for me. I mean, it was hard for me to consider anybody else but him at number 2 or 3. And I might have him up a little bit too high, because I think I had him probably at 2.
Yeah, you did.
But man, he was just so consistent and just always there.
I think,
then here's another thing you didn't think of. Greg, sorry about this, Theo. Here's the thing Greg didn't think of. He does commercials. He does commercials for these men's sex pills, right? So are we gonna ding him for using performance enhancing drugs? I just want to know.
I don't think we should. I just looked up his career numbers, and he really is consistent. It's it's like the Hank Aaron thing, like 38 to 42 home runs every year. He had between 38 and 43 home runs 7 times, but never went above 43. So, I mean, it's just very, very consistent. But then when you have, Griffey popping out 55 or something, and Cecil Fielder hitting out 51, and then, Frank Thomas has his steady 39 or 40, it's just, it doesn't take the marquee spot. So I think of him as a very, very good player. I just don't think of him as like probably where he deserves to be thought of.
For sure.
I kind of feel like he came out of the gate huge, and part of what might be affecting you is skewed because of all the roids numbers, because those were big years at that time period for a guy that was playing clean.
Yeah.
And he was like what we later saw with Pujols, where I feel like Pujols was the Frank Thomas upgrade. But he was, one of the best right-handed hitters we had seen since, with power like that, from a big guy, like since what, Jimmy Fox? I don't know.
Yeah. Mel Ott, Jimmy Fox. It's like those guys back then, they were hitting home runs when nobody else was. The thing, I think you make a really, really good point. And the really, really good point being there are such inflated numbers from the Sammy Sosas and the Mark McGuires that we don't take into account how good a Frank Thomas was. And that's really the biggest crime of the PED thing, is the guy who did play clean. And I think personally, we don't know, but I think Frank Thomas is probably clean. He was always big. It's not like he got big. But the crime is that Frank Thomas doesn't probably get the credit he deserves because of Sammy Sosa's of the world, because of Luis Gonzalez's and Brady Anderson's and these guys that did these crazy things for a couple of years. That's probably the biggest crime. So, yeah, I probably ranked him a little low. I could own that one.
Okay, cool. At least we got you to admit to something.
Clemens is clean though.
I was actually going to make the same point you did. Is I feel bad because imagine the money he lost in endorsements. Imagine how much more popular he would be now if the league was clean. He might have actually been in the top in home runs for all those seasons. But Chris, before we move on, you had this card for eye appeal at number 10. What's going on?
Wow.
I just don't like it. It's not pretty enough for me.
What? I mean, come on. That's a nice card.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. We'll put you on the hot seat next because you were way off on one of these.
That's another set in the 90s. That was the first year that was produced. That was and what's the other one? The 91 Ultra update. That was the first year that those cards were produced too. And I think they were popular for those reasons.
It was really hard to get those Leaf cards. Those were like, you could go to Costco or, they called them Price Club. Some of them were Price Club at the time. You could go buy pallets of Topps and Donruss and Fleer, but you could not find something like the Leaf cards. Like those were hard to get.
All right, let's move on to number 2. All right, at number 2 overall, he got an 8 for eye appeal, 2 for quality of career, and 2 for importance to the hobby. This card in a PSA 10 sells for $550. It's the 1992 Bowman Mariano Rivera card, number 302. I've got some glare there. So, Chris, I wanted to start with you because this is a crime, man. You had eye appeal at number 16. You had that as the worst eye appeal card. What is wrong with you? It's the most unique rookie card we have, and you just crapped all over it.
I thought I was, when you look at this, I thought I'm looking at a surfer who's dressed in street clothes. It looks like a surfboard that he's leaning on. I know it's not. But come on, this isn't a baseball card. This is John Keating's picture on Tinder. That's what that is. I mean, when you look at this, you don't think anything of baseball right here.
What's the chat? So far, the chat's agreeing with you. Let's see what the chat thinks. Is it the ugliest rookie card, or is it actually really cool that it's so unique? What do you, Greg and Victor, think about the card?
I think it's hideous. I mean, I think it's absolutely awful. He's got like some, Old Navy chinos on and a golf shirt, and I mean, it's like he just walked off the set of Miami Vice. It's not a good look. But I love Mariano Rivera. Like,
Yeah,
I had a couple
I
of
do.
times I got to interact with Mariano. One time we went to Tampa for Yankee spring training, and Mariano, after his workout, came over and he signed autographs until nobody was left. I mean, he signed and signed and signed, and he has a beautiful signature, and every single time he signed it with such precision and took it seriously and wasn't just scribbling like a lot of guys do. He really took pride in his signature. And I waited until the end of the line, and finally I'm like, he's still signing, I'll go get it. And I walked up and I said, Mariano, I go, you're a good guy. And he goes, why am I a good guy? And I go, you're a good guy because you're signing all these autographs for everybody. Like, you signed 1,000 autographs. He goes, so if I didn't sign all these autographs, I wouldn't be a good guy. And he was just like messing with me. But that's Mariano. Like, he's such a good person. Like, he would go to the All-Star game and he would be teaching Roy Halladay how to throw his cutter, like a guy in his division. Like, he's just like a good person. So I'm big on Mariano. His career I'm high on, but that card is awful.
Victor had it number 3 overall. Well, why don't you defend it, Victor?
If you know a little bit about Mariano, you would know that he probably, he just got out of church service, so that's very befitting of his outfit, right? So, but no, I think it's so ugly that it's unique. Okay.
Yeah,
It's so ugly that it's artistic in nature, and I think I appreciate it. And again, not to beat a dead horse here, but 92 was the first year that Bowman was not the first year that it was released, but the first quality set that Bowman had released, and it was a like a premium set back then, and these were really, really hard to come by. The hobby had lost their minds over this set. I mean, I remember going to my local LCS and just, it was like all summer long, everything that everybody was pursuing was 92 Bowman. It was just so popular.
Yeah,
I really wanted this card. I mean, I didn't want it early, in his career, but as it got later in his career, and you knew how great he was getting, I had to get that card. So I think that card's very important to the hobby. I think it's super important to the hobby, but I don't know. I just, again, again, if somebody says this card's not, it is so much better. It is so much worse than the Frank Thomas. But
Theo, where did I put it for eye appeal?
Eye appeal? Let me check. The only point I was going to make is that's the most 90s looking card I think we have. But
well, I was just going to say 1992 was my senior year of high school, and that totally feels like a senior portrait photo shoot.
Yeah,
I would say that's like the ugliest photo that you have at your house.
Greg, you had it at 10.
Yeah.
So
the 93 Bowman Mariano is the most beautiful of all his early cards. But this 92 is wow.
I every year for Christmas and for his birthday, I give my brother one slabbed card and I've given him, Dave Winfield, they're always Yankees. And last year for Christmas, I gave him that Mariano card in a 9, and I gave it to him and he opened it up, and because he collected as a kid, but not quite like I did. And he was like, he looked at it and he was like, what is this? And I was like, that's Mariano. I go, that's Mariano's rookie card. He goes, that's his rookie card? And I go, that's like his premier card right there. And he was just like, oh, thanks. And it was like that. And he's a huge Mariano guy, but it's just like, that says it all right there.
John, can you pull up his 93 Bowman? That card is just absolutely.
While John's pulling that up, his card right here looks like a dating app photo. It surely does. I mean, it can't get over it. Now I feel bad because Victor says he's coming out of church.
Is that a true story? Is that really after church, or you just messing around?
No, just
okay.
He's a big church guy.
That,
yeah. I think we should spread that rumor.
Hammer 44 said, "Is this? Well, is it the best looking non-uniform?"
Look at that! I would have loved for this to be the rookie card.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Wow.
Second card ever made of him.
Yeah, that's pretty sharp.
That is a nice card. Real quick though, is there any debate? Is Mo the best closer of all time in baseball history, or if not, who would it be?
In my biased opinion, yes.
So he changed the role to me. He's the best closer of all time. I think that's without a doubt. And I also can carry this. I think he owns the best pitch of all time because he just threw that pitch and said, "Here it is." Now, I don't know if he's the greatest relief pitcher because he never applied for that job. He applied for the job of being closer. They put him in there. He come out 1 inning, and the only time that I just in front of everybody that he didn't do what was expected of him was the World Series when steroided up Julio Gonzalez took him deep to the edge of the outfield grass.
Yeah.
To the edge of the infield.
Luis Gonzalez, yeah.
Luis Gonzalez.
Luis Gonzalez. I'm sorry. But Rivera, I don't know if you can consider him the greatest relief pitcher of all time, but he's the greatest closer of all time. And
I got a story for you about Luis Gonzalez. We sat behind first base dugout at Pac-Bell Park against the Giants the following year, and Luis Gonzalez would jog into the dugout, and we were in like the 4th row. And every inning he would jog in, and I would say, "The Yankees were better. The Yankees were better last year." Every inning I'd yell it as he jogged in. And finally he just looked at me and just goes, and he just points to his ring, and I was just like, "Oh," and I had nothing.
I really appreciate watching his career year after year. He was in so many pressure situations, and I would be on the edge of my seat chewing my nails during the game. And I'm like, how can this guy even throw a ball? My stomach's in knots. I can only imagine what he's feeling and going through, but he would still stay in there and do his thing. And they knew what was coming, and they still couldn't hit him. And it's phenomenal when you think about it.
Well, one of the things that was amazing about it is that pitch worked so well against righties and lefties. Normally you can just put a lefty in, and if the curveball's coming in, they can handle it, or vice versa, or whatever. But that pitch would either be off the end of your bat and break it, or off your hands and break it, and it was just like unbelievable.
Yeah,
there were closers that had better years than Rivera. Yeah, I think we had a couple here in Kansas City, Willie Davis or whatever. I forget his name now.
Go ahead.
But, would have a ERA right at 1 or under 1. But Mario, he did it for so long. And he was always the best. And I couldn't vote for him that high. But, if you're the best at whatever you do, that's something right there. Yeah. He's just great.
Craziest stats for Rivera is you look at his postseason statistics: 141 innings pitched, a WHIP of 0.759, and an ERA of 0.70.
Wow!
Damn,
he's
underappreciated when you start thinking about it again.
He was in the game though when they lost to the Diamondbacks, correct? I believe.
Yeah, he gave up the
run. He gave up the hit to Luis Gonzalez.
Yeah. So that was really
it was off his hands. He just muscled it. It's a Texas leaguer single right over second base.
They brought the
infield in.
They brought the infield in, and he hit it off the trademark, and
the
it
only
barely
postseason loss of his career.
Yeah, it barely got to to
Wow.
the outfield grass, and it would have been caught. It would have been fly ball had the infield not been in.
I put him number one for career.
It's hard to argue, to be honest.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to number one. It's no surprise. I think this was our biggest lopsided win for the best card of the decade. So I appeal 1, quality of career 4, importance of the hobby 1. The card in a PSA 10. Maybe I'll have you guys guess real quick. I want to see who can get the closest. It's the 1993 SP Derek Jeter foil 279 card. Let's look at it, and then I'll have you guys guess what you think a PSA 10 goes. A VCP says it averages. All right. Can we get a full screen real quick? Not that anybody hasn't seen it. All right. All right. So we got a bunch of PSA 8s, I think. Victor, was your PSA 8 too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's go around real quick. Let's try to see who can get the closest. You can go over. Chris, what do you think that card sells for in a PSA 10?
90 grand.
Okay. Greg?
I think that's a little high. I'm going to go 45,000.
Okay, Victor?
In today's market, oh man, I know I would around 200,000.
So I went off a VCP average for PSA 10, $204,000.
Wow. How many? What's the population? Do you have it?
No, I don't have that on me.
The problem is those cards they would brick to the cards ahead of them, and there would be surface loss. So they all have the spotting in the silver, because the silver would stick to the card ahead of it.
I paid 90,000 each for my 2 that I have in a 10.
All right, so why don't we start with the biggest differentiator on here was actually Graig, quality of career for Jeter. So, Graig, you want to start with talking about Jeter?
What did I give him
for quality of career? Let me see here. You had him at number 1 overall. Chris had him at 7. Victor had him at 2, and I had him at 5. So you felt
I don't know how you put him at 7. I mean, he had 200 hits in a season, almost 10 times. Nobody like that. Just very rarely do people get 200 hits in a season anymore. He did it like 8 or 9 times. 100 runs in a season. I mean, these production things of scoring runs are things that we take for granted, I think. But he scored 100. I wrote this one down. He scored 100 runs in a season 13 times. I mean, that's a lot of runs to score 100 runs. 6th all time in hits. He's at almost 3,500 hits. You know, and I know he catches crap for himself defensively. I don't think he's as bad defensively as people think. But the other thing about it is like, you know, there are a lot of good players that have gone to New York and just folded. You know, like Kevin Brown was an incredible pitcher, and then he goes to New York and he can't throw a strike. I mean, and it's like player after player, they sign these guys to big contracts, you know, Giambi and Teixeira and all these guys, and they're good, but they don't live up to the hype under that New York Yankee pressure. And Jeter didn't just live up to it. Like, if I'm in the World Series and I have 2 outs and I have a guy on second base and I need a single and I could pick anyone ever to be up, I think I pick Jeter because he's super clutch and he's a super good hitter. And to me, I mean, the list has some good players on it, but to me, you know, I can't put Frank Thomas above him just because he hits some more home runs. Like, he's an incredible baseball player, incredible leader, a clutch guy. He's a winner. He's a class act. He's the total package.
Frank Thomas actually had a higher WAR than him, which is interesting. I understand that doesn't include the postseason, all the championships. So, Chris, what was your thinking in putting him at 7? That's really, really low for Jeter.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to disrespect him, but Frank Thomas did have a higher WAR, but it's not just WAR. You know, put Pedro Martinez ahead of him, and I put that's where the cutoff was on Martinez and Rivera. I thought they were Jeter was great. And this I'm not disrespecting. I'm not
Chris,
disrespecting.
you put Jim Tomei ahead of Jeter. I don't know what to say about
that. Jim Tomei had a higher WAR than Jeter, maybe.
You might be right. All right, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
So I wouldn't have just wholeheartedly thrown Jim Tomei in there. I had to give him a reason. He surely had a higher WAR or something. I'm not Jeter. You're right on everything you said there as far as playing in Yankee Stadium's got to be harder and all that kind of stuff. But when I was doing this, and I had this in my mind from 10 years ago, that there was a time that Jeter wasn't the best shortstop on his team. Alex Rodriguez was a better shortstop than when he came over than Derek Jeter. And I don't even think it was close. Now, Alex Rodriguez, if I am in the same room with Alex Rodriguez, I might have to take a shower 10 minutes later, because Derek Jeter did everything right. But I had that written down. I'm writing this book that I've been writing for 25 years, and it's hard to believe that I said this, but a Hall of Famer was the second best player on his team at that position. And if you don't, but Jeter did it right all through his career, I think. And he was suspect defensively a little bit, but there's always been better defensive shortstops in the American League. But if I had to do it over with, do the voting over, I might raise him up, but not to number one. I couldn't put him. I couldn't put him up there, number one or number two.
Who were your 1 and 2, Chris? Do you remember?
It had to be Chipper. I'm looking at the sheet but it doesn't have it all. I think I had Chipper Jones ahead of him, and I believe I had Frank Thomas and Ivan Rodriguez. I put Ivan Rodriguez with him, ahead of him because
you're friends with Mike Moynihan.
No, I'm mad at Mike Moynihan. 3 years ago said that Ivan Rodriguez was better than Johnny Bench, and he must have been using drugs at that time. But now he switched, and he did a video. He forgets he did it, that he says that Johnny Bench is not the best catcher of all time. And that's when I stopped watching his stuff. I don't watch Mike's stuff anymore. No, I'm kidding. But I got those three ahead of him. And as far as position players go, I got him ranked 5th, and I must have been doing some of Mike's drugs when I had Tomei ahead of him, because even though Tomei has a higher WAR, I think Jeter's better. So
yeah,
Victor, help me out here. Help me out, Victor. I hate it when Graig might be right on something. So.
Oh man, that's too good. That is too good. No, I got Jeter number 2 on my career. I got him number 1 as far as hobby importance in the 90s, and I got a lot of respect for Jeter. Just his postseason play, right, was really good, and just his leadership ability. I had a lot of appreciation for his leadership ability, and it's like a respect thing that I have for Jeter, and yeah, he's up there for me. I Appeal, I gave it a number 1, and yeah, love the guy. I don't think it's not my favorite of his rookie cards. I like the pinnacle one. I like that one.
That is a good one. I agree.
And the Stadium Club, that's another real nice one.
Guys, you got to look at Mookie Chilson's comment.
Mookie Chilson needs to have a show. I think
he has a show.
Does he?
Yes.
What's the name of his channel? I got to get on his channel.
Mookie Chilson.
Look what he says here, Graig. Look what he says.
What do you say? I agree, Chris. Ray O'Daniels is better. Oh gosh. Piazza sucks, Mookie. Piazza sucks, Mookie.
Ray Ordonez. Is he
He's just messing with us. He's messing with. I'm going to text him right now. Tell him to be nice to us.
There you go. Respect.
Oh,
funny. Yeah, let's wrap it up, guys. We're at an hour and a half. This was a lot of fun.
Cow.
Time flew by.
An hour and a half.
Yeah, yeah. I know. It's crazy.
This was fun.
Yeah,
and
for real.
Listen, I dreaded doing this on the 90s stuff. I don't know. I'd rather have my toenails clipped off TV, but this was actually pretty. You guys made this pretty fun for me. This was good.
You know, Chris, all I know is every time we're on a live together, you always talk about how much fun you have. So I have to believe there's got to be something about me being there. It has to be, right?
Come on, man.
Yeah.
This is as good as anyone we've done. This is as good as anyone.
Well, I mean, let me just read you some of the prices, just because I thought it was interesting. So, Von Rodriguez in a 9, $3. $8 for Jim Tomei, $10 for Larry Walker, $6.75 for Pedro Martinez. These are in 9s. I mean, it's just like $13.50 for Chipper Jones. I mean, if that doesn't tell you what supply does to cards, you know, from the junk wax era, that tells you. I mean, that tells the whole story right there. The cards have no value. Even one of the key rookie cards of some of these all-time great players are they're not even worth the plastic that they're sitting in.
Yeah, but how much nostalgia do they have?
No, I collect them. I mean, I collect them.
No,
I bought.
Greg's an investor.
No, that's a different guy. That's a different channel. No, I bought a 85 Fleer Kirby Puckett rookie card yesterday for like $5.
Nice.
I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, I'm all about nostalgia. I told you I almost bought that Frank Thomas. Like, I'm all about these cards. They just don't have any value.
Right. To be honest with you, Greg, though, if we even tested Chris, who's a PSA guy, it's the hard part is when there's this many rookie cards. It also saturates as far as you might like out of his 5 rookies, you might like number 3 the best, and Victor might like number 5 the best. So that also saturates the prices too. You know what I'm saying? Because you said a lot of them are butt ugly. You know what I mean? So why would somebody buy it?
Speaking of butt ugly,
okay.
Coming into this, I didn't know what half these cards look like, but can someone put up one of those Rollins?
The blue Scott Rowland refractor.
Yeah. How do they make a card where it almost seems like the prime focus of the card is the guy's ass?
Well, the Tony Gwynn rookie card is that way.
Tony Gwynn. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
I don't care for that rolling card at all.
Well, let's wrap it. We had about consistently 26 to 30 people in the chat tonight. Thank you guys. You guys make this very enjoyable for us being live.
Oh yeah.
And you guys could have been watching football tonight. So thank you guys for being in here. I appreciate it. And I want to thank my panel. Chris, I gave you a hard time tonight, man, but great job. Greg, thank you for being out here. And Victor, thank you for jumping on. This is your first time, so you were a rookie tonight. So thank you for jumping on with us, man.
Love it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.
See ya.